Hey there, Amplifiers. Well, when it comes to really growing in your business, you can either get tunnel vision and go it alone, or you can branch out and get different perspectives from different experts and benefit from their knowledge and information. In today's live session, we're going to be um, answering some questions from some different experts are going to be able to weigh in. So if you're tuning in now, I want you to think about what are questions that you may ask if you had to gauge some things that may be holding you back, or look into some ideas that you want to bounce off someone else. But when we get fresh perspective, we're able to take new action and get new results. So joining in today is thought leader, technical strategist, and rockstar professional Jerry Gitchel. Welcome to Growth Amplifiers, Jerry.
Well, thanks for the invite, Kenny. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Pleasure to be here and have you joining in and contributing to the conversation. One of the cool things that I've got to do is connect with other business folks like yourself, share perspectives, share insights, and that gets people to have aha moments. So, Jerry, if you could do us a favor, and for people who are tuning in, if you can give them an idea of your background and kind of what you do and your knowledge and expertise.
Well, thanks for asking, Kenny. I appreciate that. I run a company called Leverage Unlimited. And basically what I do is I work with business professionals who want to increase their productivity. And I work with organizations that have bought technology, but they're not quite sure what to do with it. Now, I've been doing this for decades. Started, back in the day when we were just getting computers out there. Got to meet Bill Gates back in, 1998. I got to meet him when I moved here. And along the way, I have every time a new technology appears, I go, that's interesting. I'd like to know more about that. So basically, what I do for my clients is I've read the manual so they don't have to.
I love it. And fresh joining us in now is rockstar professional Mitch Beinhaker. Mitch, welcome to Growth Amplifiers. Thanks for tuning in.
Good to see you guys.
Mitch, now Jerry just got done doing an introduction, and if you would do the wonderful favor of sharing a little bit about your awesome and amazing background, because you're doing some amazing things as well.
Sure. I'm a business attorney, small business lawyer in New Jersey. So I work with startups, entrepreneurs, family-owned businesses, partnered businesses, helping them with getting set up, using the right documentations, writing everything from contracts to business plans to estate plans to operating agreements and buy-sell agreements and things like that. And I also handle a lot of transactional work. So if they're leasing a space or purchasing another business or bringing in a partner, that's really what my legal practice is limited to. And then, as you know, because I think you've been a guest on my show, I have a podcast for about 2 years called The Accidental Entrepreneur. I interview entrepreneurs and social media influencers and authors and everybody really that works in the SMB space to share their ideas and hopefully help listeners get a better hold of what they're trying to do in the business space.
Bravo. And I really appreciate the things that you do and the knowledge and expertise that you have. Jerry, I was just did a self-introduction, and his background's really in helping people use the technology that they have. Because how often do you run into a business that buys technology and then they're like,
yeah, all of them.
Right? So what we're going to do to get us started is we're going to just take a quick moment to have our guests, Jerry and Mitch, kind of share, what got them started in their journey, their story into their lesson. And then we're going to be answering some questions that have come in from business owners around the country and just weighing in on that as kind of a panel discussion. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, Jerry, if you wouldn't mind kind of getting us kicked off, just getting a little sense of, how you got started doing what you're doing today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for asking. I I used to be in historic restoration in another life. And one day my boss brought this big box into my office and set it on the desk. I said, well, what is this? He goes, well, that's your new computer. We're going to start using it on Monday to do like budgets and things like that, spreadsheet kind of stuff. Well, I couldn't even spell spreadsheet back then. And it was on a Friday that he brought it in. So I ended up having to take the thing home and start learning how to use it. But I understood almost immediately what type of leverage that could give us. There's 3 laws to leverage. The first is to extend your reach. The second is to increase your velocity. And the third is to build, relationships. And so if we can practice just in those areas, it makes a lot of sense. But that's how I got started. I didn't, as Mitch was saying, accidental. It wasn't accidental. It was a drive-by capturing, and I ended up being waylaid, and that's how I got started.
Excellent. Thank you, Jerry, for kind of sharing us a little bit of how you tuned into the frequency. How about you, Mitch? What really brought you down the path to being able to help as many people as you do today?
I was always, a little businessman when I was young. I always had something going on in high school, middle school. I was whatever jobs I could do. I never liked to really work for anybody. I tried that a little bit, and then so I was always doing something, inventing something, or doing little odds jobs. In high school, I had a detailing company. We were detailing cars. I sold that going into college. And in college, I was studying economics and finance, and we had some things going on. I had a DJ company in those days. We were doing a lot of fraternity parties, traveling around and doing that kind of stuff. It was always something I was interested in, but I didn't really want to go the MBA route, and the analyst route. So I decided to go to law school and didn't know really where that would take me. In law school, I got interested in tax and planning and business planning and estate planning and all the kind of things that I do now. And my father actually has spent most of his career in the life insurance business. So at the time, I knew a lot of people that were, at least financial people, that were working in those areas with business owners. And I just, got interested in it. I probably in those days, entrepreneur was like a French word that's nobody ever heard of. And now everyone's an entrepreneur. So it just kind of developed over the years of working with, business owner clients and helping them with their problems, and realizing that there was a better way to do things to increase their chances of success. And like Jerry pointed out, it's not necessarily that they do things by accident. It's that they accidentally fail or succeed because there's no planning involved, and things like that. And it doesn't have to be complicated planning. It just needs to be some planning. That's why they call it planning. You're supposed to do it ahead of time. So,
right.
That's kind of how I ended up. And then everything else kind of developed around it, the podcast, the law practice, the this, the that. And, I just try and work with people on all kinds of different levels.
I love how you show up. I love the fact that both of you are really, really helping people connect and building relationships. And that's the way that you look to grow your business. Now, one of the things that we've been doing here at Growth Amplifiers is we've been hosting monthly mastermind events for business advisors. So we've been having other business advisors who help other business owners come connect, kind of like this, but it's really like the traditional mastermind where everyone gets to share something and everyone gives a little bit back. But it's been really powerful because it's helped people make new connections. And one of the most amazing things is when people have an aha moment. They really been stuck with something because they're playing with the hand that they've been dealt. And they typically get a blind spot. And then by everyone kind of sharing in from different perspectives, someone just shines the light just perfectly, and they get lit up, and you can see kind of they've had a breakthrough right in that time. So what we're going to be doing right now is answering some questions that have come up, and we're just going to kind of rapid fire and just share some insights based on your experience. So I'm going to keep, if they've attended, roll your sleeves up. So now rest assured that if you've attended the mastermind, you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know you're going to be putting this on live. This is going to be confidential, so I'm not going to be sharing anyone's details about the questions when we're in that space that is a confidential space. but I will go ahead and bring out the topics. So the first question talks about team building, and we had a gentleman who's running a business and has employees, and he's really wanting to get his team engaged and more than just kind of like doing the bare minimum. He wants them to be active and excited about showing up and achieving a goal. So curious to get your perspective on that question, and just sharing from your background, from your experience, what you'd care to add to that. And if there's someone who has a thought already, go ahead and volunteer. And if you need a moment, take a moment. All right, we'll start with Jerry, and then Mitch, if you want to weigh in, you're welcome to.
Sure.
I'm going to. That's a great question, by the way, and it's one that's rarely asked, especially in startups. I do a lot of startups. I work with people who are starting from a solo entrepreneur space, and they go, "Team, I'm super person. I can get all this stuff done."
Right. It's no I in team.
Exactly. And so what I find is true is, and I'm going to paraphrase Stephen Covey. Teams move at the speed of trust. His was business moves at the speed of trust. But when we talk about teams, if you don't have the team, you can't scale. And if you can't scale, you're never going to get to that. You're not going to get, you'll never reach escape velocity. So I think the first thing would be, what can you do to make people feel confident that they can move forward at velocity? If people are unsure of what you want, what you expect, how much authority they have, if they're not sure if you're going to listen to them, then they will hold back. They will protect their flanks. They'll I'm not quite sure what the boss wants. In our remote environment that we're going to have from now on, if there's no going back, this remote environment means that we have to work independently. And to work independently, you have to be confident that whatever it is you're working on is what everybody's working on, and we're all going in the same direction. So I would say empathy, the power, the very special skill of listening as a leader, and to set the expectation. This is where we're going. This is how we intend to get here. These are the standards, behaviors, and values that we represent. Does that help?
Yes, Jerry. Thank you very much. Mitch, would you care to weigh in?
Yeah, sure. I'll expand on what Jerry was saying. I find that people that have trouble in those situations, there's usually two things going on. One is that first of all, they need to evaluate whether they're the ones that can be the leader. It's a different skill being an entrepreneur, right, and a solopreneur versus running a team and running management and now running the business. We've seen corporations have problems with that all the time, and they kindly, the CEO kindly exits and they bring in a qualified person. So that's something you got to evaluate yourself, and maybe take some of your own coaching and so forth. But I also find that in a lot of those situations, there's a difference between running a company, being the boss, and being a leader. So you need to make sure that your employees are empowered and gain ownership. And I don't mean literally, but have ownership in what they're doing, to feel like, what they're doing matters, what they're doing drives the company forward, that they will be rewarded for that, as opposed to people just coming in, it's a job for them. And then when the clock says 5:00, they're out of there, and you got to learn how to incentivize. So a lot of that has to do with listening and interacting with your employees at a different level, where you're finding out what is important to them. What do they need to get their job done? What are they missing? Are all the parts working together? Are they buying into what your vision is? It's okay. You don't have to be right about everything. You won't be right about everything. So don't think that you are. And that's what I find with people in those positions. So you got to make that transition to being the leader and not being the, I hate to use the word, but dictator. Don't dictate. You got to lead. So it's a different skill.
I do appreciate that. I actually just got done listening to a John Maxwell podcast, and he just happened to share something on that topic as you both were hinting at. You really got to get someone's trust that you have their back. I was talking with a CPA last week, and she watched, Simon Sinek, The Power of Why, and she's like, I think I've got the answer, and they need to know my why. And I think there is some benefit to see what is the bigger picture, what is the mission, what is the why you're doing something, but it's also got to be related to them as well.
Yeah, because they don't buy in if they don't. Right.
They're like, oh, that's your why, great.
Yeah, if you don't care, then what does it matter?
So really showing that you care about them and where you want to go, and really having a way to let people see that how their contributions are making a difference. All those things together really are powerful. So I'm going to make sure I share this with the person who brought up that question. So thank you, gentlemen. And we're going to do this at the end as well. But if people want to learn more about you and your company or business, where would they go and what would they do? And,
Jerry, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first.
Okay.
Very simple. If you look at my picture right now, at the bottom, it has my name. My name is my email. So my email is jerry@gitchel.com. Let's just leave it at that. That's
okay.
Close enough. I have the ability to, I talk to anybody about any question they have about technology for 15 minutes. That's free. I always learn when I listen to other people's problems. I didn't learn how to solve problems until somebody started bringing them to me. So the best way to get a hold of me is jerry@gitchel.com, and then I'll connect with you. Whatever works best for you. But I love to listen to other people's challenges with technology, whatever it might be.
Wonderful. And Mitch?
Similar to Jerry, my website's beinhakerlaw.com. Because the law practice. It's Mitch@beinhakerlaw.com. I'm the only Mitch Beinhaker on LinkedIn. There are other Beinhakers. I don't think there's any other Mitches. And they are related to me somehow. You can always find me on pretty much any of the social media platforms. You can follow the podcast, The Accidental Entrepreneur. And I offer free consultations too that you can get through my website. I think they're 20 minutes or something. So always happy to talk to people.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. So we're going to move on to the next question. And this came from a lady. Now, she's in the bookkeeper accounting space, and she's just floored right now. Right now with, taxes and accounting work and all that jazz. And how do you find time to work on the business when you don't have any time?
Yeah, well, that's the big secret, right? We're not going to give that away.
So that's and I've been connecting with more advisors in the accounting and financial world, and that especially around this time of year and other points that they're like, I can't get anything done. But my counter is you need to find some way to keep something progressing. So you have some sort of cadency and consistency. It does help to keep momentum. So we're going to go in reverse order this time, Mitch. And if you had some ideas for that, how do you find time to work on the business if you don't seem to have any time?
Yeah, well, it's the E-myth, right? It's the problem that everybody has. How do you work on your business? If you ever want to really, truly be an entrepreneur, be a business owner, you have to figure a way to get out of your headspace, right? So if you're a professional, whether it's a lawyer, an accountant, an architect, an engineer, whatever, and you have a professional practice and you want to do all the work yourself, you're not going to get out of that space. And that may be a choice that you want to make. But if you want to build a practice, there's plenty of things that you're doing. Probably there's $20 an hour work instead of $200 an hour work. So you need to start to offload, whether it's through a virtual assistant or virtual services, or you actually hire somebody to take things off of your plate that are clearly taking up your time, probably not the most profitable use of your time as well. A lot of that comes with building a strategic business plan. So if you're a CPA and most of the stuff you do are personal returns, and from, let's say, early February through April 15th, basically your hair's on fire. When tax season is over, sit down, start writing a business plan. Yeah, right. Start writing a business plan and start putting together all the costs of running your business and what costs you would like, and at what point do you have enough revenue to add somebody to do this and that, and strategically plan it out. You'll start to see things that you shouldn't be doing and you shouldn't be spending money on, things maybe you're wasting money on. The financial side of it should be a little bit easier, hopefully, for the CPAs. But a lot of the entrepreneurs we all work with, including Jerry, I'm sure, they're very right brain. We're very creative. We want to do this and that. And we kind of ignore the numbers. Then we're like, how do we get out of this? Well, that's how you get out of it. You plan your way out of it. The ones I know that are doing it the right way, they know exactly how many clients they need to bring on that next support person, to add that next service. And they know their numbers well. If not, that's how you make the time, is that you get other people to do things that you shouldn't be doing. And don't make excuses for it either, by the way.
I love it. A little bit of tough love.
Yeah,
and I think it's important. I'm a big fan of not just patting people on the head and saying, "Oh, everything is perfect." You got to be able to say, this is something you really need to do if you really want to take the next step.
If that's what you really care about.
You really got to take a new action. Jerry, would you care to weigh in?
Oh, thank you for asking. Responsibility. It really comes from making the decision, and it is your decision, to become personally responsible for the business, especially if you're bringing in people and you're starting to build a team. You're responsible for making sure those folks know that you're going to be available. Now, we tend to talk about investment and we say it's about money. It's really about time. So one of my first recommendations I give to all of my clients whenever I'm, coaching executives, I coach coaches, I coach professional speakers. A lot of these folks are creatives, and sometimes that's the worst kind of business owner, because the creatives believe, well, I'm creative, therefore, this should all just somehow magically happen
together. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't. And so the first recommendation I would give folks is to start by creating an ideal week. Mm-hmm. An ideal week calendar is not your operating calendar. It's what you would like to see happen. So I have, I use a number of different tools for that, and some, techniques within my existing calendar to do that. So I have a separate calendar, which is not my active calendar. It is simply blocked out by what it is I intend to accomplish. So I will have coaching sessions blocked out throughout the week. I will have those questions. I told you I had a 15-minute quick question on technology. I have those blocked out. So you block out your ideal week. And a good source for that would be Michael Hyatt. I think Michael Hyatt is the expert on that. Check out what he has with the ideal week calendar. That would be most important.
I think it's really important to kind of look at those numbers and then block it out and really have a plan, have a strategic plan, as Mitch was saying. It's very important. And
I work in the area of, I do virtual hybrid meetings. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the problem, everybody says, oh, well, it's so technical and all of that. It really comes down to what Mitch was saying. It is a question of planning. It's a little bit tougher than this is, laying out what you're doing here is a challenge, but it's still a series of simple steps that have to be planned out one after the other to bring in guests, set up the environment you're going to use, make sure everybody gets to connect, all of that. It really does come down to planning. And I say planning your schedule is the place to start.
Like your Hal Elrod week.
Exactly.
I really like the idea of, as soon as you say, I can't do anything, that's just limiting yourself right there. Because there's always an opportunity to do something.
Yeah, there's no can'ts in life. There won'ts.
Right.
There's no can'ts.
So I just saw the calculation. I think I was watching a Brian Tracy video with my kids this morning. And he said, even if you could just do 15 minutes in a week, it's 15 minutes in a week. That adds up. If you did that every week, that's, several days of time just focused on moving your business forward.
Right.
If you're in a busy season and you're like, I can't spend gobs of time, prioritize, put it in a roadmap, and then define one thing that you could do that would start lifting things up. What is something that you could delegate? All right, well, you have to develop a system to delegate. All right, well, then put that in your roadmap. I'm
Right.
going to move it forward. But if you don't take any new action, you're going to be in the same exact spot.
Right.
So I appreciate both of you gentlemen for sharing your insights, giving some amazing feedback to the questions that we had come in. And now I would like to see if we can have you just kind of give an amplifier that you've gained on your journey. So just about a minute, just a lesson that you've learned on your journey that might help others on theirs continue to amplify, something that you'd like to share.
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. One of the things that I tell people, especially if they're new in business, they're just getting their business started and they want to, learn more, push the learning curve, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I think that it's a good strategy or habit to seek out others who are successful, who you would like to model. They don't necessarily have to be in your field, but if they are, that's probably more helpful. And try and have a cup of coffee or a Zoom chat or whatever it is once a month with somebody who you want to learn from. And you want to find out what we're there, because we've all had challenges. We've all had setbacks. Most of those, in my opinion, are learning experiences. So if you seek out those people and learn what the mistakes they made and how they overcome those, you'll push your learning curve, and you will jump years ahead of the kind of things where 20 years down the road where you're saying to yourself, boy, if I knew that 20 years ago, well, it'd be better to figure it out now. So that would be one thing I'd recommend to somebody.
Thank you, Mitch. And Mr. Jerry.
Great question. We've been talking a lot about planning and how do we get organized and how do we, build blocks of time or whatever. But it really does come down to planning what's going to happen in your life. A few years ago, I decided to stop chasing clients and started instead to choose clients. So I sat down and said, well, what does an ideal week, what does an ideal customer look like? What's a client? What if I look at my very best clients, what if I had 10 more of those? Now that has helped me by when I add somebody, say, to my database, I meet someone. The very next thing I do is I don't send out a bunch of emails and put them on some kind of giant marketing program. I sit down and I say, well, what is this client? What is their future value? Is this someone who has the means, the desire, and the grit to actually be a success? Because it's not my success. My success only comes from their success. So I started picking, my best fit client, picking the person that I would serve best. And once I laid that out and had a picture of that, all of a sudden, I would run into one of those people and I would go crazy. Like, there's one right there. And so I think we tend to chase the wrong kind of client.
So definitely.
By the way, in support of what Jerry just said, I love the idea of the ideal client profile. I love that. People don't know who they're looking for. Oh, but I could do business. I don't want to. Yeah, I could do business with Jerry, but I could also do business with this guy. Well, that may be true. Just got to pick a lane. Who do you want to work with if you had the choice, and what's the best fit for you? And I love that concept.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. The pie is as big as we want it to be.
Right, it's a choice. I agree. And people get very frustrated when they don't. Sorry, Kenny, when they don't, really narrow down who they want to work with, and then they end up. Maybe they get busy, but 95% of the people are people they don't want to work with to begin with, and they hate what they do. And it's really because they didn't make the proper choice up front.
It happens. I was just chatting with someone this past week, and they were sharing that basic same thing that they have like a handful of different types of people they could work with. I'm like, well, in marketing, you want to focus with it, starting with one. Right. Get that one down, get really good with that. Imagine if you could just multiply your best client, like you were saying, Jerry. Yeah. Everything becomes that much easier.
Right. Because the wrong clients breed other wrong clients. That's what happens. You get referred people that you didn't want to begin with. I work with a lot of different kinds of people too, but I don't hold myself out that way. Because then, I don't want to work with you, Kenny. You're going to refer your best buddy, and he's going to be the same way. So,
yeah, that extends to referral sources.
Big time.
when you have a referral source and they're very happy to send you people, and then 3 of those people in a row end up being a bad fit or even a horrible fit, and you go, wait a minute, obviously we need to go back to that referral source and
Train
say,
them a little
you
bit.
know, let me start over and explain to you what I'm looking for. It could be that simple.
So if you've been tuning in and you've had questions for Mitch or Jerry or Growth Amplifiers, feel free to comment them in. We'll notify Mitch or Jerry as new comments come in as we get this posted live. And, if you're a business advisor and you are seeking to share your knowledge with other business advisors or business professionals, feel free to tune in and connect with the Growth Amplifiers community. We do the Growth Amplifiers live masterminds, and we're all about bringing people together to share expertise so that everyone can amplify together. We all play different instruments. Might as well come together and create harmony. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate you, Mitch, for dropping by. And Jerry, we're going to sign off until the next time. Any final closing thoughts?
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.